Hi, I'm Sean, a finance nerd, and today you're going to learn about how to vet a financial advisor and whether it really matters if they're a fiduciary. And I'm joined in this conversation by my co-host, Elizabeth Ayoola. This episode's question comes from Ian, who wrote us an email. Here it is. Hi team, I hear fiduciaries being peddled like some kind of miracle cure for financial planning. But I'm curious how being a fiduciary actually works. What is the enforcement mechanism? Is there a licensing body like for nurses or doctors? What makes a fiduciary more trustworthy than someone who is making a promise that they totally have your best interest in mind? Cheers, Ian.
This is a good question to ask, especially if you're trusting someone with your money. And I really like this topic because I recently covered it in a power planner course I'm taking. Sean, I know you're also in the deep waters of coursework since you're studying and become a certified financial planner professional, which is a fiduciary role. So you're going to answer Ian's question so we can test your knowledge.
That is right.
Okay, so we should probably start with what a fiduciary is. So Sean, what is a fiduciary?
A fiduciary is just a fancy term for someone who has an obligation, usually a legal or professional obligation, to put their client's interests before their own. A fiduciary can be a doctor caring for your health, a family member managing someone's estate, or in this case, a financial professional who is managing the personal finances of their clients.
Okay, so in summary, a fiduciary prioritizes you and not their pocket.
That is the idea and the hope, but there's a little more to it than that. And I really have to hand it to this listener because I appreciate their skepticism about what it means to be a fiduciary because they are touted as the gold standard among financial advisors. I also think we need to zoom out a little bit and talk about what it means to be a financial advisor, because the term financial advisor is not regulated. Anyone can call themselves a financial advisor, even the sketchiest hustle culture peddlers on TikTok.
I actually think we could do an entire episode on that, Sean. Right now, there's so many people sharing financial advice, and I'm afraid that people might not be doing enough vetting before taking these people's financial advice, or even realizing that all advice shared doesn't have their best interests at heart.
Yeah. And as a side note, I'm not a fan of imposter syndrome, but the personal finance space is one where maybe more people should feel imposter syndrome because there are just too many people online without qualifications or experience telling others what to do with their money.
I second that. And the wrong advice could really lead to great financial chaos for people. So they should absolutely be scared of sharing inaccurate or misleading advice.
Totally. And if I'm being completely honest with myself, part of why I'm pursuing the CFP certification is to quell my own occasional imposter syndrome, because I, as a professional in the personal finance space, want to get as much information as I can, and I want to be as qualified as I can be to help others, but that's just me holding myself to a very high standard that I think maybe other people should hold themselves to as well.
And that's why I like you, Sean. Okay, obviously there's other reasons I like you too. But that's exactly why I'm doing my qualification also, because I want to share accurate advice with people. And I love to answer my friends and family's finances questions when I can. So I want to make sure I actually know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so back to our listener's question. Ian wants to know how being a fiduciary actually works in the financial planning space. CFPs are fiduciary. So how does that actually work in practice, Sean?
Yeah, that's a good question because Ian asked about licensing to affirm that someone is a fiduciary. And in the personal finance space, that usually means getting a CFP certification, which is the gold standard of education and conduct in the financial planning space. So please indulge me as I give you a sip of the Kool-Aid that I've been drinking during my CFP coursework, and I'll explain what it means to be a certified financial planner professional / fiduciary.
Come on, tell us, Sean.
Okay. So part of becoming a certified financial planner involves intensive education, passing a difficult exam. But then once you are certified, you have to act according to the code of ethics and standards of conduct that are outlined by the CFP board. And there are 3 parts to this fiduciary duty that is also outlined by the standard of conduct. So first, there's a duty of loyalty, which states that a CFP professional has to put their client's interest ahead of their own, like we talked about before. They also have to avoid, disclose, and manage conflicts of interest, and they must only act in the financial interest of the client, not themselves or the firm that they work for. They also have a duty of care, which basically mandates that the CFP professional has to be competent and do their best to help their clients meet their financial goals. Also, they have a duty to follow client instructions, where a CFP professional has to abide by the terms of the engagement with their clients.
Wow, that is a lot. But honestly, it would give me confidence as a client to know that someone jumped through all those hoops for me.
Yeah, and that's really just scratching the surface too. And this standard of conduct is a big part of why being a CFP is a big deal in the personal finance space.
But here's the thing, Sean, our listener, and to be honest, me too, is also wondering about enforcement. So let's say a CFP professional decides to prioritize them making an extra dollar over what's best for the client. And I don't know, let's say they push them into an investment or some kind of insurance product that isn't actually a good fit for the client. What happens then? Do they call the cops? What do we do?
The police are not involved in this, fortunately, but there is an enforcement mechanism at the CFP board. If someone suspects that a CFP isn't living up to their fiduciary responsibilities, they can file a complaint with the board and the board will investigate. And there are a number of disciplinary actions that it could take, including stripping someone of their certification. The thing is, the onus is typically on the clients to file the complaints, and that's part of why hiring a financial professional, hiring a CFP doesn't mean that you can totally sit back and ignore your money. You still have to be engaged and monitor what's going on.
For sure. I learned that the hard way, so I try to learn things here and there. But thanks for explaining that. I do have another question, though. How would the client even know if they aren't financially savvy or, if they have a sketchy history? Are there some telltale signs?
Yeah, this is the really tricky part, right? Like, you're going to this financial professional because of their expertise. So they probably know more about this topic than you do. And that can make it hard to know if they are BSing you or maybe more likely to violate their ethical duty later on. There are a couple of things that you can do, though. Before you even hire a financial professional, do your due diligence and shop around. I would recommend talking with a few different financial advisors before you decide which one you want to work with long term. You can think of it like dating in that way. You want to get to know them and feel that you can trust them. And then once you are in this vetting process, I would say turn to our old friend Google and dig into each planner that you're considering a little bit, like you would anyone that you're dating. Verify that they actually have the certification that they say they do, and look and see if they've had any disciplinary actions that have been marked against them publicly. Also, you can just Google around and see if they've done anything else that you find suspicious or weird that you just aren't on board with.
Wow, I love those tips, Sean. And I also must say, when you said your old friend Google, it just reminded me about how long I've been in a long-term relationship with Google. But the tips definitely way more important.
Yes.
So basically, you're telling us to put our investigator hat on. But Sean, say more about that money part, because that's a big piece of the puzzle too.
Yeah, well, in the financial planning space, there are three main ways that people are compensated beyond a base salary. They can be fee-only, fee-based, and commission-based. So when you meet with a fee-only advisor, they might charge you an hourly fee or a fee based on a certain percentage of your assets that they're managing, maybe 1 or 2%. That's pretty common. And fee-based is really similar, but there is a key difference, and that is that this advisor might get a commission from products that they sell you, like an insurance product or a specific investment account. And commission-based is exactly that. The advisor makes their money from selling financial products. So you can probably imagine why the commission-based pay structure gives some people pause.
For sure. And then even if the advisor is a fiduciary, being commission-based could muddy the waters a little bit.
Yeah, and for those who are really concerned about any conflicts of interest in the financial advisor space, fee only might be the route where they feel most comfortable.
Well, Sean, thank you for this rundown of what it means to be a fiduciary. Your coursework is courseworking, and I can see the studying is paying off. Do you have any final words for our listeners?
Yeah, I'd say that if you want a financial professional to help you with your finances, vet them thoroughly, shop around, and remember that at the end of the day, you have to be your own best advocate to get what you want from your money. Thanks for watching. I'm Sean Pyles, host of NerdWallet's Smart Money Podcast. If you learned something new today, hit like and subscribe and share with your friends. Also, listen to NerdWallet's Smart Money podcast wherever you get your podcasts.